Hello and welcome to North 100, a Canadian Highlander podcast. I'm Serge. I'm joined by a Jer.
Hello.
An Alex.
Hey.
And a Ben.
Hello, yes, I'm Wheeler.
Reminder that North 100 is brought to you by you with your support of the Patreon over at patreon.com/LoadingReadyRun. We couldn't do this without you, so thank you for the support. Let's start off with our opening segment, the best card that you're not playing up to date is me. I want to talk about a land. I know, surprising no one here. It's called Riftstone Portal. Type land, it has the ability tap, add 1 colorless mana to your mana pool. As long as Riftstone Portal is in your graveyard, all lands you control have tap to add either green or white to your mana pool.
Oh, is that why it has a tombstone next to its name?
Yeah, that's the old, what's that? Is this Odyssey?
No, that's Judgment.
Yeah.
That's Judgment. They used to have a little reminder if it did something in your graveyard, it had a little tombstone up at the top.
A reminder tablet.
Yeah, I'm kind of sad it doesn't still do that. You know, Flashback and all these other cards that you just like forget about all the time.
Yeah, well...
Forget about them?
Anyways, I like this card a lot in lands decks. In particular, if you're playing a lot of lands that you can stumble on your mana. So if you're playing Maze of Ith, if you're playing Tabernacle, if you're playing like Library of Alexandria, even something like Wasteland, the ability to have your non-color producing lands generate color. It can help accelerate you, it can help stumbling points if you're worried about your color fixing, all sorts of stuff like that.
It seems pretty hot with...
Sound it out.
Life from the Loam.
Somebody sounds like...
What? How is
Xehanort.
this like? How is swaying your
I
arms?
just shovel sway. I got it. It's like the miner, the light from
Yeah,
the
light
miners.
from the loam.
There's been several times where this has been in my hand, and I've went and found Life from the Loam to get back a bunch of lands to my hand just so I could discard this to hand.
When you're too full, yeah. The dream is when you have Riftstone Portal in your graveyard and Uberg in play, and
I was
you're
gonna
like,
say,
my
you're just
mana
like-
is perfect.
We Doran now.
I've tried to put this in non-lands decks, and it gets a little bit clunky. It doesn't quite provide enough value in like mid-range or something where you really have to hit your land drop every
Well, it's
turn.
like...
It's just harder to put it into your graveyard in
Yeah.
those decks because there's a real cost to playing the cards that get things in your graveyard, like Zern Orb, Get Rock Monster, those types of things.
Get
Like,
Rock
I mean,
you're not often
Alright,
playing
value.
many of those effects for value, so you need to be playing a pretty all-in synergy-based deck in order to reap the benefits from this card.
You got something to add, Ben?
oh
don't
no,
worry
he
about
sure
it.
doesn't.
Seismic Assault, another fun way to put this in your graveyard. Anyways, I like it a lot. I think it's often overlooked and can play a very good role in the right deck. This is not for every deck.
Can you bin this off Mulch, or does Mulch put all the
You can
lands in
choose.
field?
You can choose. Yeah, if you have any of those sort of effects. Other ways,
You may just cast Mulch and mill 4 cards if you so wish.
yeah.
I can't get over the the suggestion of a land that only adds colorless, and then when it's in your graveyard makes everything else add white and red, and you're like, oh yeah, when you have this triple red enchantment in play, this
Oh, white
is
and
great.
green, yeah.
Or white and green, yeah.
Look, nobody, and you're splashing blue for Swans of Bernargle. The lands deck is a mess, Ben. You just got to do what you got to
You can
do.
cast
Yeah,
Swans. with
Swans
just
is
white
hybrid
mana.
blue-white.
I know, but
But you're splashing blue for it anyways.
well, you gotta get your draw spells so you can find it.
Oh, well.
I'm Serge Yager. How come I can't win tournaments? Okay, that was cruel.
That was
That was actually really mean. I'm sorry. I
Look,
apologize.
Boy.
I acknowledge my mana bases are greedy. That's why you play Riftstone Portal.
Besides, the reason Serge can't win tournaments is to the right of you.
Yeah, yeah.
And it beats Blood Moon.
It does beat Blood Moon. Oh man, Ben just crushes me.
That's me.
Oh yeah, it does beat Blood Moon.
Yeah, all your mountains can also tap for. There you go. They cast Blood Moon. You cast your Seismic Assault, pitch Riftstone Portal, and then you're laughing. Joke's on you, Wheeler.
That's
Found
like
the
a
line.
IQ
3019.
play. I know.
Yeah.
I get it. All right, let's introduce today's theme. Today is going to be. I don't want to use the word set review because if you've been playing Magic for a while, you already know all the cards. But we're gonna do the UMA reprint review.
For those at home, that's Ultimate Masters.
Did I almost make you spit take? I'm so sorry. Yeah,
It was way too close to uwu.
the Ultimate Masters reprint review. And this is going to be a little bit different. So a lot of these cards are staples. A lot of these cards we've seen them for a long time. So rather than talk about each reprint that's playable, like here's an example. Hey Alex, tell me about Lava Spike.
Play it in your mono red deck.
Yeah. We're gonna talk about sort of sets of cards that we think are really interesting, or where is its home, and this will give us a chance to talk about the meta, talk about popular decks, powerful decks, and if you end up getting some Ultimate Masters and you're like, what do I do with these? Well, hopefully this will help you out.
Well, this is also a way of highlighting cards that are about to be reprinted that are relevant, maybe we take for granted, and you've never heard of.
Yeah.
So.
And then a disclaimer, this review is from the point of view of Highlander. It's not exhaustive. We're only going to be talking about specific cards, so we're not going to go through everything sort of at the same point. And we're also going to be grouping cards sort of by an archetype. So we'll introduce a theme. I mean, not every card has a theme. Some we'll just talk about by itself, and then we'll go from there. So let us all start it off with the first card of our review, and I'm stretching for time. Containment Priest.
Hey!
Can't read the version Beej brought up. So Containment Priest is a human cleric for 1 and white. It's a 2/2. It has flash. If a non-token creature would enter the battlefield and it wasn't cast, exile it instead. Jared, you want to start us off with your thoughts on this card?
Yeah, so we'll start off by talking about the most important word on the card, which is of course cleric. No, it's flash. That's their whole reason this card gets to see play. It's a hate bear style card, but it sees applications outside of hate bears because of the flash. It pairs very well with blue cards, which are the best cards you can be playing. But it shuts down a lot of decks. It's really good against birthing pod decks. It's lights out against reanimator decks. Ben has been experimenting a lot with sneak attack this year. Ooh. It's quite good against that one as well.
Even sees play against Hoof if they natural order.
Yeah, it's pretty good there as well.
I mean, your corner case is at Brown's Nahiri Ultimate. Doesn't that feel bad?
Uh-huh.
Yep.
It does do that.
It's like,
Yeah, but it's just a cheap, efficient threat. Like 2 mana for a 2/2 is what you'd expect. Staple on flash. You're already almost willing to play that. I have sleeved up Ashcoat Bear in Highlander before.
This is the second episode in a row where we've talked about Ashcoat Bear.
And the addition of the somewhat niche, but like when it's relevant, it's probably going to win you the game ability.
This is kind of a perfect balance between like playable on its own and have like a really strong hate effect. Because if you had one or the other, this card would not be very good.
Exactly.
But you have both, so it's like your floor for this card is better.
Yeah, in the games where the ability isn't relevant, it's still a threat that will eventually get your opponent down to 0.
Yeah, carries equipment, chump
Surprise
blocks.
blocks. Surprise end of turn. Almost haste. So.
All right, well, let's move on to our first grouping, affectionately known as the Boggles.
The Bugles.
The Bugles.
Boggles.
So we've got 4 cards in this one. The first one I want to talk about is Daybreak Cornet. I'm just going to read them all out really quickly, and then we'll talk about Boggles altogether. So Daybreak Cornet is an aura for white. Enchant creature with another aura attached to it. So it's a little bit clunky, but I think we get there. Enchanted creature gets +3/+3, has First Strike, Vigilance, and Lifelink.
Woo-wee!
The next card I want to talk about is Hyena Umbra. Hyena Umbra is an aura for a single white enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and First Strike. It also has Totem Armor. If enchanted creature would be destroyed, instead remove all damage from it and destroy this aura. We have Spider Umbra, single green, enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 in reach, also has Totem Armor. And finally, we have a Slippery Boggle. Slippery Boggle is a 1/1 beast for a green-blue hybrid. Slippery Boggle has hexproof.
He's eating a fish.
Now, Serge, can you read the flavor text on this new version of this magic card?
No.
This
Don't do
Slippery
that.
Bogle
Okay, hold on.
magic card?
Ogle the Boggle and Goggle the Boggle. Doesn't matter, you weren't going to catch it anyway.
All right, well, thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
So this is the classic Voltron.
Ogle the
archetype.
Bogle or Goggle the Boggle. I
Thank
think is how
you.
it's intended to be read.
Thank you. It's
I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure I got that right.
now this deck is about as frustrating as listening to you butcher this card's name.
Oh, Ogly the Boggly.
Bogles is a deck that is pretty popular in Modern. It's kind of a mainstay of that format, and that version of the deck gets to play 8 versions of Slippery Bogle, 8 1-mana, 1/1 hexproof creatures. We don't have that luxury in Highlander, but it is scary how real this deck actually is in a very specific metagame. You will get absolutely dismantled by decks with like Toxic Deluge or
any sweeper.
Liliana of the Veil is a classic one. But
Yeah, edicts are kind of harsh.
Terminus.
you can get your creature count up to a respectable level, and the auras that they keep printing out. I mean, you're going to play some very low power level cards. You're going to play like Pursuit of Flight, which is effectively, or like Luminarch Mantle. Just these enchantments that they're not really worth looking up because they just cost 2 mana and give enchanted creature +2/+2. But when you have enough of them and you slide them on a Bogle, and maybe you throw a Daybreak Coronet.
Or riding the Delu horse.
Yeah, I guess you could ride a Delu horse with this, but that's a little expensive.
Riding the Delu horse.
But yeah, this is something... Bogles gets kind of passed off as like a meme kind of deck, right? You're like, oh, look at all these dumb things that you can put on this 1-drop.
Oh no,
But
I
it's like-
died.
yeah, but it's several local players, I believe Jeremy and myself as are 2 of them, have played this deck to some success.
I've 3-1'd a couple times.
Yeah, as same here, and that's like with optimal builds as well.
Yeah, and the deck keeps getting a lot better.
I have 2 questions on that. One, what colors are you trying?
Banned.
Jeremy was on ban. I was on 5 color.
What does red get you? Because like
More
black.
auras, like Madcap skills is...
Oh, okay.
Yeah, a lot of the 1-drop and 2-drop auras that red gives you really help push through. They add a
One
layer
minus.
of evasion
Yeah, okay.
and raw stats.
What does black get you?
Same thing.
Well,
Evasion,
Theros
raw
has a lot
stats.
of really interesting like enchantment matters creatures as well.
There's like
Right.
That are in black.
Those creatures end up turning on a lot of the removal that your opponent has.
Oh, okay.
But the main purpose of the deck is to basically blank.
Okay, so if it doesn't have hexproof, you don't play a creature. Because I was going to ask after that, do you play?
You almost don't play Core Spirit Dancer. It's like in and out of some lists, in my opinion. I don't think it's a staple in the deck.
do you play enchantresses to
No,
get some type of engine
certainly
going?
not.
No.
nope.
Not even Argothian.
No.
She has
why?
Shroud.
Oh right, I thought it was hexproof.
If she had hexproof, she'd be obviously great.
Okay.
Yeah. You're not looking to like necessarily combo kill, because the difference between like a 9/9 flying trample hexproof can't be blocked by unicorns and saprolings or whatever silly enchantments you slap on it isn't much different from an 11/11 with all that stats
Sure.
as well. So you don't need to keep refueling, because more often than not, your first suited up creature is all you need.
Huh. Interesting.
And in the matchups where you need to hold back, those are often slower matchups where a 4/4 or a 5/5 will often be uncontested until they deal with it, and then you redeploy.
All right.
Get him.
All right, let's move on to our next category. We've affectionately called the Forgotten Fours. The first card I want to talk about is the Sublime Archangel. The Sublime Archangel is an angel for 2 white. It's a 4/3. It has flying, it has exalted, and it also says other creatures you control have exalted.
Holy moly.
And of course, multiple instances of exalted all stack. Next card I want to talk about is Vengevine. Another 4-mana 4/3. This is an elemental for 2 green. Choo choo. Has haste, and whenever you cast a spell, if it's the second creature spell this turn, you may return Vengevine from your graveyard to the battlefield. And then finally we have Glenalandra, the Archmage. It's a 4-mana 2/2 fairy wizard for 3 and a blue. It has flying. For blue and sacrifice Glenalandra, counter target non-creature spell and persist. So when it dies, if it had no -1/-1 counters, return it to the battlefield with a -1/-1 counter on it. Alex, tell me about these cards.
They're so good, and they don't show up all that often.
Glenn still sees a bunch of play.
Well, they all will pop up every once in a while. It's not like they've become bad or anything.
Yeah.
they're just like not as common a sight.
Yeah,
Dungeons.
a lot of these cards, Glenn is certainly the one that has had the most staying power.
It's so good.
But a lot of these cards were almost auto-includes in multiple tier 1, tier 1.5.
It's sort of like the 4-drop finisher spot.
Yeah, Sublime Archangel was the last thing you wanted to see against like the Bant Blade decks.
I was gonna say that. I just think of Noel and Kata just
just
everyone with Bant Blade.
You're just like, oh, I'm at 13. I have maybe 2 turns, 1 turn left, and it's just like Sublime Archangel.
Oh, I guess I'll die.
Yeah, I'll send in this 7/7 Silverblade Paladin and kill you. Vengevine, another product of like the aggressive green-red decks. Their 4-drop slot was usually dedicated to cards like Hellrider or Hero of Oxidridge, so 2 4-mana haste creatures. That really just allowed them to close the game. Vengevine would slide in there as well.
Vengevine also saw play in like fair pod and fair survival decks.
When pod was fair.
Yeah, because you could actually get the second clause of casting 2 creatures off of Root Baskwala? Basking Root Walla. Wow, I got that perfectly backwards.
I do like Root Baskwala a little bit better.
Pod doesn't help you cast spells. Creature spells though,
but survival does.
Yeah, the survival, the original incarnation of like the pod twin decks that ran survival packages as well, would play. I mean, this was back in the Wild Wild West where you're like, okay, I have pod and survival. And Time Walk plus 4 Moxen.
Right!
Brent Fragson's deck. This was a top tier deck in our format for a while. Yeah.
I wonder why.
Mox, Time Walk, Pod, Survival.
What?
Oh, and Wasteland and
Strip Mine.
Yeah.
My brain hurts.
Yeah.
That deck can still exist.
The points list is in a happier place now.
Yeah.
So like this card and that deck still exist in some capacity, but not to the same like eye roll, oh my god, I'm dying to this again sort of.
And the aggro survival deck got a lot better with cards like Hollow One and the other discard matters cards.
Yeah.
I play this guy pretty routinely in Black Mold just because like he works with the theme of creatures that have haste or are difficult to get rid of.
I found I've replaced it with Surak Hun Color a lot of the time. Which is same mana cost for a 5/4 that has an ability that's ferocious, which is if you have 8 or more total power in play, at the beginning of combat on your turn, target creature gets haste.
Yeah, he's pretty dank.
So often the turn you play him, unless he's your only creature, you'll often be able to give him self-haste, and then all your future creatures end up getting haste, which in colors like black-green where your creatures tend to be bigger or more resilient but don't have abilities like haste, it's such a beating.
Yeah.
So I think what we want to say about these cards are they're all really solid. If you're drafting and you get into these cards, you're wanting to find a home, they have homes. Like these have been powerful finishers in our format for time immemorial. And even though they're starting to see a little less play, they all have a home. And typically it's mid-range or the top end of aggro.
Well, Glenalandra and Control.
And Control, of course, yeah.
Glenalandra
in mid-range. Glenalandra has a number of homes.
Being on a combo shell based around non-creature spells, be it Egg, Storm, the Sneak Attack decks, and having your opponent slam a Glenalandra with a blue or 2 blue up, it just feels so bad. It's so unbelievably tilting. Sorry, I needed a minute there.
Yeah.
And she's not legendary, so she doesn't get banked by correctness.
Oh, I forgot that. Oh, you know the joy when, before they changed the legend rule and everybody played every clone effect, because why not? Yeah. And there could be multiple Glenalandras in play. Ah, the dream. Because you could Phantasmal image your Glenalandra and then sack it, and it could come back as any creature on the battlefield. It could come back as Glenalandra or something else with a -1 and -1 counter on it.
Yeah, you can still do that.
Yeah, but people just don't play Phantasmal image as much.
Yeah.
But
classic blunder.
It used to be the auto include because the legend rule, that was the removal spell, 2-mana removal spell for their best creature. All right.
What do we got next?
Yeah, we're good to move on?
Yeah.
Next up, we have a favorite of mine and Alex's, a card that is just as fair as it is symmetrical. Let's talk about Back to Basics. 3 mana enchantment for 2 and a blue. Non-basic lands don't untap during their controller's untap steps. Period.
Great
Yeah.
card.
Yeah, fantastic card.
I can't even argue with that. Like,
I know.
It's a super duper
Yeah.
feels bad, great, needs to exist card.
I
Yeah.
actually think this card is way more fair in our format than Blood Moon is.
Because at least you have a chance to play the land and get value out of it once.
Not only that, but I think it actually punishes and restricts the decks that play it more than Blood Moon does. Like, Blue Moon especially gets to play Blood Moon, and it's almost never going to impact them dramatically anytime they're going to cast it. But a lot of the times, they won't cast Back to Basics when they would cast Blood Moon in similar spots, because they need access to the amount of mana, a specific amount of mana. Whereas if they're turning one or two of their duels into mountains, they're like, yeah, you know, that's fine. It's gonna goozle you way more than it goozles me. But if they can't untap their Desolate Lighthouse, their Volcanic Island, their Sulphur Falls, and they're down to three lands instead of 6, that's a big deal for them.
The mana base of Blue Moon, you'll typically see like turn 1, fetch a dual land, Steam Venser Volk, into Basic Island, slam a Blood Moon, slam a Magus or whatnot, and Back to Basics kind of screws them over if they try to do that.
This card existing is one of the corner reasons I play Undiscovered Paradise.
Ooh.
That's secret tech.
This is why I play Nature's Claim.
This is why I play Basics.
Yep.
No, but
The coward's
to
path.
I never play Basics. I don't even play lands.
Ooh,
I get
all right.
nauseous when I go over 30 lands. To add on what Jeremy is saying, even going beyond Blue Moon, which is kind of the archetypal back to basics Blood Moon strategy, decks like Blue-Eyed Control or I'm going to regret saying it, Seinfeld.
Yep.
Which
mono blue.
Yeah, they can mono blue control. They can take advantage of this card, and in the past they used to rely on it pretty heavily. Like that was one of the selling points on playing those decks is, I get to lock out my opponent with cards like this. But those decks, their utility lands are so good and so instrumental to their success.
And important.
Yeah, be it Caracas, Soul Devi Excavations,
Maze of
the creature lands, whatever it may be. So I think talking about this card as kind of just a, hey everybody, I know you're super eager to throw this card into every kind of hard blue control deck that you have.
Maybe think about it.
Yeah, I mean, for sure try it out and then see whether or not, depending on your metagame, you want to either cut back on like the Maze of Ith or Arch of Orazkas in your deck, or if you want to, maybe save this for a rainy day.
It is great in high tide though.
Excuse me.
All right. Ooh.
You get to untap your lands if you freeze them.
Hey Jer,
Yo,
I know you're a big fan of Force of Will,
I like that card.
and there's a downside to Highlander, which is you can only play one Force Will in your deck.
That is a bummer.
Or can you, with cards like Disrupting Shoal, pardon me.
I've cast a Disrupting Shoal a time or two.
So for X blue, it's an instant arcane. You may exile a blue card with CMC X from your hand rather than pay its mana cost. Counter target spell if its CMC is X. And we got another card called Foil. Foil, for 2 blue, instant, you may discard an island and another card rather than pay the spell's mana cost. Counter target spell. Jer, I mean, this is where I miss Liam. Where are Disrupting Shoal and Disrupting Shoal and Foil in the counterspell tier list?
Disrupting Shoal is definitely better than Foil, but they're probably both tier 3. Or it depends on how much combo is in your metagame. They get better as the percentage share of combo goes up.
Okay. So you're playing them to beat combo, or you're playing them as combo?
They're playing them to beat combo. The free counter spells are the best thing to have against combo decks because it enables you to tap out and add to your clock while still not going fully shields down. And that's the most common way people misplay against combos. They make the incorrect decision on when to start applying pressure.
Never go shields down.
I think that's a lot of the times that people mess up is that they don't have any pressure, and then they're like, oh, I can't go shields down, and then they just give the combo player 8 turns to
And you just die anyways.
have like duress, Thoughtseize, silence plus combo, and you're not beating that with any number of counter spells. But yeah, both these cards are playable. Disrupting Shoal, as I said, is much better because you're not 3-for-1ing yourself. So if you're 3-for-1ing yourself to counter a spell, it better be a darn important spell, or you better have a lot of card advantage in your deck, so you're able to throw away cards like that.
I just want to add, with 3 judges at the table and 2 TOs, or former TOs, the flavor text on this new foil is so appropriate to Magic players and showing up to events.
Among wizards, poor timing is the most consistent mistake. Oof. I'm gonna have to ask you to play a little bit faster.
I also have an original foil.
Ooh,
That's a spicy one.
OG foil. All right, let's move on to the next one. A little section we like to call All-In Combo. First card we have is Gauris Vengence. It's an instant arcane for 1 and a black. Return target legendary creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. That creature gains haste. Exile at the beginning of the next end step. It also has splice onto arcane, which is not as relevant. Next up,
Splice it onto Disrupting Shoal.
Next up, we have Through the Breach. This is
Also an arcane spell.
With Splice.
Yeah.
so
Splice it onto
5
Disrupting Shoal.
5 mana arcane instant for 4 and a red. I like that it has Emrakul in the flavor text here, or in the art. You may put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. That creature gains haste. Sacrifice that creature at the beginning of your end step. And again, splice onto arcane for 2 red. And finally, we have Gamble. Gamble is a sorcery for single red. Search your library for a card, put that card into your hand, discard at random, and then shuffle your library. I mean, do all these cards play in the same deck, or are we looking at sort of 2 different archetypes here?
Oh, you slam.
Gauris Vengeance only sees play in one deck.
Yeah, Tin Fins.
Yeah.
I believe it's called Onion Baji.
I
don't know.
It's Tin Fins.
Well, the
loosely associated with Onion Baji.
Well, the 5 color Sneak and Show Flash Channel Storm deck. Fins Reanimator.
Are you playing Gamble?
World Gorger. Oh yeah, I am super hot on Gamble. I think this card is underutilized.
I agree, actually.
Basically every control deck.
I've played in Lands.
In the aforementioned 5 color Sneak and Show Tin Fin Channel Storm deck.
Don't forget Mirror.
Wheeler,
Lich's Mirror. Can never forget Lich's Mirror.
Wheeler.deck, got it.
Gamble was the hotness because you are so aggressive, and so I'm just going to try and kill you on turn 3 at the latest. And you had so many redundant pieces and cards that you actively wanted to get into your graveyard.
And at the same time, a lot of cards that did nothing, and you didn't care whether they were in your hand or not.
Yeah. You play a bunch of
Why are you playing cards that do nothing?
Because they do something just not by themselves.
Yeah, a very niche thing.
All right.
Gamble was basically 1 mana Demonic Tutor. And then moving beyond that, it turns out that this card is still quite good, since a lot of combo decks share similar qualities to that. You tend to go off involving the graveyard. You tend to want to cut on your mana and play as many tutors as possible. So cards like Gamble, which, former Pointless card, by the way.
Yeah.
Dark days.
Yeah. Wow. It kind of fell out of favor. But I think that this is something that a lot of modern day combo decks should return to if they have access.
Go ahead, Alex.
I have less of a mouthful name for your deck, which still mentions Onion Baji. Shrek Pile.
I hate it.
It's got layers.
I hate it so much.
I like it.
It's got layers.
I know.
That's going to be a no from me.
That's a big yikes.
Now, correct me if I'm mistaken, but hasn't Gamble been in and out of Goblin lists as well?
Yep.
Yep.
It has been
But
played in the past. Not for a while.
Not for a while now?
But
Like it used to get either Goblin Recruiter or Mountain.
Price of Progress.
That
Price of Progress.
Fire Blast.
Yeah.
Just like kill your opponent
Find a finisher.
right to death.
Yeah.
So just a little bit of thought in the brain there.
I also really love the new Through the Breach art. Alex alluded to it earlier with the Nahiri Ultimate, but it's just It's just not messing around with what you're supposed to put through the breach.
Oh god!
Through the Breach is another card I want to actually talk about.
Sure.
Because Flash is a 7-point magic card, and that's a lot of points.
It
There's
is.
more than one way to skin an Academy Rector. That came out.
Oh my god, she's like 67 years old.
And she's still fighting to this day. It's admirable. But I love me a good Flash Rector through the Breach Rector. Just find an Omniscience and then do nothing for the rest of the game, which is usually only going to be 1 or 2 turns. but-
Casting this on Academy Rector.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
She just like runs out there, head full of crank, smashes into something, and then explodes.
Well, you just like, it's like, are you going to take one or are you going to block? And they're like,
Does she have 1 power?
she's a
Yeah.
1/2 for 4.
Right.
But she fights like a 20/20.
Yeah.
She heralds the coming of the end.
I just did a handful of tinctures and I'm ready to rumble.
So what I said was too much, but apparently this. Anyways, so what Through the Breach, as the art shows, often just gets kind of lumped in with Emrakul, with the other Eldrazi, Gristlebrand, that kind of stuff. But there's more to the card. While it's so good in the Tin Fin style decks, my experimentations in the past couple of years with Academy Rector, with a bunch of weird stuff, like putting out a Torrential Gear Hulk to flash this back and then put out something else to add on damage. Like, we did some weird stuff, like being able to breach EOT on their turn. This card is one that I highly recommend any other combo degenerates spend more time exploring.
Cool. All right.
Oh, wait.
Let's move on to our next card, which needs no introduction or category. It's just value. It's your girl, Liliana of the Veil.
Hey!
1 black for a legendary planeswalker type Liliana, or named Liliana. She ETBs with 3 loyalty, +1. Each player discards a card. -2, target player sacks a creature. -6, separate all permanents target player controls into 2 piles. That player sacks all permanents in the pile of their choice.
You can't go to hell if you killed all the demons you made pacts with.
Yeah? So where does Liliana of the Veil see play?
In too many decks.
That's also true.
Yeah?
Yeah, that was my, I gotta admit, that was my main drive for adding this card to the list.
Like, it's super crazy good, no question.
Well, I think that's why it gets added to so many things, because it's one of the best planeswalkers of all time. Probably the second best planeswalker of all time.
I just think she's more niche than people realize.
Why do you say that?
A lot of people play Liliana because it's a good card, and then they don't take into like their deck and how their deck wants to play out games into the context of putting this card into it.
Yeah.
So like I see lots of control decks play Liliana of the Veil, and what the control deck wants to do over the course of the game is get card advantage over their opponent and translate that card advantage into a game win by exhausting their opponent's resources. And the +1 is symmetrical until the point that someone has no cards or they're able to abuse the discard such that it's not really a loss of resources. The control decks aren't abusing the discard.
Yeah.
And their opponents are going to be out of cards before they will. So the +1 is actively not very good in the deck. The -2 isn't enough to save you against the decks where you need it. And it's never going to ultimate unless we're already winning the game.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is correct, but I don't play this in Black Mold. I play the other 3-drop Liliana.
I think that
Killer
Liliana is
creature reanimate.
underplayed.
Yeah.
Yeah, last hope?
Last
Last
hope.
Hope's real good.
Yeah, she is crazy good.
Yeah. I like Liliana in a pox shell. In a symmetrical attrition shell where both players have nothing and you're fine to fill it. I played Liliana of the Veil in a legacy tournament. And I ended up ulting her 3 times in the same game because I couldn't find my 1 win con, which was a 2/2 to get there. So I was just like, tick up, tick up,
Another
tick up,
shit.
tick up, tick up,
Oh,
tick
another
up, -6.
Another spear.
Yeah.
Tick up, yeah, or a Mishra's Factory. That's the kind of match where she excels. It's just like, how long are we gonna grind for? Just like forever.
Or she's really good in graveyard value decks where you're
Yep.
using the +1.
Yeah, Light from the Loam.
Yeah, or if you
Reanimator.
have things like Lingering Souls,
Yep.
or you're like trying to abuse Vengevine, or you're playing like some like Flame Wake Phoenix shenanigans deck. But yeah, I think you have to actively try to break the symmetry of her +1 for her to be effective in your deck.
Any other thoughts on Liliana the Veil?
Begone thought.
All right, let's move to a grouping near and dear to my heart, and cards that we've actually already mentioned multiple times today. It's lands. The first card I want to talk about is an enchantment called Seismic Assault. Red, red, red gets you an enchantment. Discard a land, deal 2 damage to any target. I like that they added that. I didn't know that. That's cool. Next up, we have Life from the Loam. 2 mana sorcery for 1 and a green. I'm going to wait for the exact wording. I was just going to no-scope
Does some
it.
stuff.
But I'll wait.
Dredge 3.
No. Dredge is at the bottom. Return up to 3 target lands from your graveyard to your hand. Dredge 3. Oh, that art's really pretty. Is that supposed to be Ravnica?
Yeah,
Yes?
it's originally from Ravnica.
It was printed in Ravnica.
And that's the ultimate box topper edition.
Yeah. That looks really pretty.
It does look really good.
I mean, I know it was originally printed in Ravnica. I just wonder if they would have perhaps changed the flavor of the art. But that, I like that a bunch.
Oh, that's...
The OG. The OG.
That's Seville the Ghost, right?
I'll start this here. I think so. Seismic Assault is an interesting card. Playing red in lands is really tough because you play red in lands for basically 2 cards: Seismic Assault or Valakut. And I mean, if you're playing Seismic Assault, you can also go like Borborygmos Enraged, and there's another red that goes
Mana
down
Vortex.
there. Mana Vortex
no,
is
not that one.
not Mana Vortex, not
no.
Mana Vortex.
No.
Molten Vortex.
Molten
That's the one.
Vortex,
Yeah, it was
yeah.
a Vortex.
And I've experimented with it a lot, and like red doesn't. I mean, you can play Gamble in it as well, but red is a tough inclusion. You can, if you want to play Seismic Assault, like the classic dream is to go Seismic Swans. So you play another card called Swans of Bryn Argyle, and there's a 4-card combo that lets you effectively draw your entire deck and then kill your opponent with Seismic Assault. Alex.
Serge,
Yeah.
have you ever considered building this deck greedy pod style? Like, don't play red and just have ways to cheat Seismic into play.
Those ways are...
Yeah, how do you cheat enchantment into play?
Academy Rector.
Through the Breach, Academy
You
Rector.
can't through the breach Seismic Assault.
Oh, you can't?
No,
sorry,
it's-
not Through the
it's
Breach.
creature.
Wargate. And what's the other one?
This is very ambitious.
Wargate,
There's
Academy
like the
Rector.
Castles.
Replenish.
Castles.
No, not replenish.
Castles?
They're like floating. It's blue and green.
Bring to light.
That's the one.
It doesn't get
Doesn't
I don't-
find
doesn't get
enchantments.
Oh,
But it finds Wargate, which you Wargate for 0 to find Black Lotus to...
what?
I actually want to play a red-green lands deck with Experimental Frenzy. I want to
What's
try it.
experimental frenzy?
It's that
Oh, it's
card,
new.
It's
that
the
card
coffee
that we
house.
slammed
We
in the...
slammed it in the set review, and it's so big
Well,
in standard right now.
Yeah,
I think we did underestimated this card a bit.
Oh, is it actually good?
It's
I think it has potential.
it's good in Standard.
yes.
It has...
Untested.
Yeah.
But I think it might be good in like red-green lands where
Yeah.
you can play a bunch of lands off the top
Oh,
of
if
your
you
deck.
have Fast Bond, I mean, I've played Future Sight and Future Sight effects in lands before. Experimental Frenzy is very interesting. What's up? What's up, Alex?
Nothing, just you and Fast.
Well, like,
Sorry for the
justifying this card again with Fastball, it's like, well, I guess Experimental Frenzy's good
Well,
when we
see-
add this
see, in
pointed
my-
card that's busted.
In my heart, Fast Bond is already in play. In all these situations, the Fast Bond is already there, so you got to keep going.
I know, Serge. You live life like Fastball's in play.
All right, let's talk about Life from the Loam. You know, we talked about Seismic Assault. It plays a fairly niche thing. Life from the Loam, I think, is applicable to a lot more decks. I think. Would you ever play out of a land shell? Do you ever play fair Life from the Loam, or are you basically playing lands and trying to do something degenerate with it?
Well, what you do is you just like take like the best 5 cards out of the land shell and just put it into a mid-range deck, and I've done that a bunch. You take like Life from the Loam, Strip Mine, maybe Fast Bond, Crucible of Worlds, Ramanap Excavator,
Titania.
Titania. Yeah, but that's just a good mid-range
That's just a good
Like,
card.
you don't need. Yeah,
Right,
But,
no, but that's
but
the whole
yeah,
point.
you like play a bunch of the land's value cards, and then you just play a mid-range game plan that sometimes you just intuition on turn 3 and then they never have more than 3 lands in play for the rest of the game.
Oh, I remember Control used to play like Crucible Academy, Academy of Worlds, and
Academy of Worlds?
no, Academy.
One of these cards is real. The other two.
Help me out here. What is
You
the
mean Crucible? Crucible Worlds.
Life on
Academy
Low.
Runes.
Academy Runes, yeah. As just a way to start generating tremendous amount of land value, and you have a wasteland somewhere in that equation.
The format's too fast now.
Yeah, but that used to be a value package.
So we might we might talk about that package a little later in the episode.
All right. Well, let's move on then in the interest of time. So if you want to play lands, Seismic Assault and Life from Loam are going to get you a nice head start. Obviously, we've mentioned a lot of other cards, so those are role players, not necessarily finishers. Next up, we have the Pattern Rector package. First one we have is Pattern of Rebirth, 4 mana enchant creature for 3 and a green. Enchant creature. When enchanted creature dies, that creature's controller may search their library for a creature card, put it onto the battlefield, and shuffle their library. Next up, we have Phyrexian Tower. It's a land that normally taps are colorless, but you can tap 1 and sack a creature, and you get to add black. Notably, it's a legendary land. And then finally, we have Revelark. Revelark is a 5 mana 4/3. Yep. Nailed it for 4 and a white. It's an elemental. What's up?
Oh, I just thought they might have new art for Lark, but no, it's just as confusing as it was before.
It's a flower bouquet with wings.
How do you build upon perfection?
You can't. That was my point.
When Revelark leaves the battlefield, return up to 2 target creature cards with power 2 or less from the graveyard to the battlefield. It also has Evoke for 6. So who wants to talk about Pattern Rector?
Better ship it to Ben first.
Ben.
Well, this is one of my all-time favorite archetypes in the format. It's near and dear to my heart greatly, and it's also a deck that comes up a lot when people get introduced to the format.
Old Sandra Bullock.
Yeah, Sandy B. The deck it's such a good starting place, I find, for people looking to get into Canadian Highlander that have some experience dabbling in formats like Legacy, Modern, or even like competitive Commander. Like something where they're somewhat familiar with this style of interaction, but are looking for a port in our format. There's so much you can do with customization for the deck. The deck has insanely powerful draws. You can play it as more of a mid-rangey shell. You can play it as more of a, I'm just going to kill you on turn 3, turn 4, fingers crossed. And like, it's one of those decks that I've been playing this since like 2011. And you still find new lines. You still find new, like, neat little interactions. You find these, maybe this is just my chimp combo brain, but you find, like, you'll think up these new ways to, like, kill people if XYZ is, like, removed from your deck.
Right, yeah.
That's one of the things I was going to comment on the deck, is that this deck has so many pieces to it and so many different lines available that it really, really rewards you for knowing your deck super well, knowing your opponent's deck super well, and knowing what is the best route to victory, because your deck will probably give you access to a winning line. And when I've played this deck, but not nearly as much as Ben has, and whenever I played, I'd go and talk to somebody after and figure out I could have won almost every game I lost.
Yeah, it's when you look at lists of this, if you go in with 0 information for the deck, or minimal, and you would think, oh, Kitchen Finks and Murderous Redcap, this is how you're going to kill your opponent. It's like, well, what happens when those are gone? It's
and an example of it's gone is it ends up in the graveyard early, and your opponent plays Scavenging Ooze and eats it.
Yeah.
So like some type of situation where those cards are gone.
Or eats a Swords to Plowshare.
We are gone. Like they are exiled. They got tore up and thrown away. You will still be able to kill your opponent, be it something a little more upfront like Siege Rhino, be it some elaborate loop involving Dryad Arbor, Lotus Cobra to generate infinite mana of a certain
Ballista,
color,
whatever.
and you Walking Ballista them out of the game.
Yeah.
Or even just BMing them and Tide Hollow Scullering them on their draw step every single time. You know, whatever it may be, you will, like, once you get this loop going, the deck will give you ways to win.
Cool.
And Phyrexian Tower, a card that suffered from availability issues.
Yeah, it was.
Now, I think it's a normal rare in this set? Or
Yeah, it's a
Yeah, it's a normal rare.
Great, yeah, hop on that. This deck is...
Beep, beep.
Oh, I love this deck.
cool.
It's super fun to play.
Oh, yeah.
And it's worth mentioning that a lot of those cards don't really see play outside of Pattern Rector.
Yeah.
Larks.
Lark is, I guess Flash Hulk's another Hulk deck, but Pod. Like, Lark is a Pod mainstay.
What about Aristocrats? Are you playing Phyrexian Tower, Rebel Arc?
Lark is too much mana. Tower, I don't think I owned one.
Your mana's, I think the mana in that deck is so
It's a super
like,
cool card
fragile.
that I've definitely looked sideways at.
Pattern might be cool, now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, maybe.
It might be a little win more, but this card is actually kind of busted.
Yeah,
Like,
it is.
It only really sees play in Sandy. What's the deck called?
It's Pattern
Pattern
Rector.
Pattern Rector. No, the card right in front of me.
Well, I mean, like, okay, so supposing you have one of your many sack outlets and you draw into your Pattern of Rebirth. What's the scariest creature you can get?
Well, I mean, you can. I played an Aristocrats build with Hoof in it, which might be a little greedy, but it's like you don't have to get much.
You
right?
could get Butcher, you could even just get a Blood Artist.
You can get anything.
Yeah? Well, maybe I'll have to pick up one of these.
Rurik Thar, Primeval Titan.
In Aristocrats?
No, Ben's
He's
talking
just
about
naming
other
6
decks
drops.
now.
Oh.
Well, I mean, you could play an Aristocrats. I wouldn't recommend it, but
All right, let's move on to our next one, a little section we like to call top tier lands. You want some value? You want some good lands for your deck? Well, good news, here's 2 we decided to talk about. First up, we have Ancient Tomb. Tap to add 2 colorless. Take 2. And then we have Cavern of Souls. This one's a little bit wordier. So when Cavern of Souls enters play, you have to choose a creature type, add a colorless, or add 1 mana of any color. Spend this mana only to cast a creature spell of the chosen type, and that spell can't be countered. Let's talk about Ancient Tomb first. I don't think these 2 necessarily always end up in the same deck, probably not too often. Oh, all right, gentlemen, yes?
I want to save my excitement for Cavern of Souls. You guys can talk about
Yeah.
Ancient Tomb.
The fundamental rules of Magic state that every turn you may draw 1 card and play 1 land.
Yep.
And by and large, effects that allow you to go above those limits are pretty good. Ancient Tomb is almost like playing 2 lands.
Yeah.
Almost. It's a powerful accelerant for a lot of different decks. I've seen this get into everything from Workshop to Hate Bears, actually, or like not White Weenie, Death and Taxes.
Yeah.
Because
Great in that deck.
it also helps you with your Eldrazi
Colorless
colors
requirements.
stuff.
And all your equipment.
Yeah.
Super pricey.
Ben and I have both been on the championing this card for quite a while, saying that it's underplayed in 2-color mid-range decks, aggressive decks. Both this card and Mana Crypt have started seeing more play, but probably not as much as they should. Even playing this card in decks you wouldn't think of, like Craterhoof, just to jump mana and become more unfair. Decks that their mana is quite good otherwise.
This seems
adding
super abusable in Craterhoof. Where
it is. It's nuts.
It's gross.
Your mana in Craterhoof is already so good that if you play a forest and an elf on turn 1, then you have all the green you'll ever want
Yeah.
for the rest of the game pretty much. Then if you play a Garruk on
You get
turn
to
2, you
untap it.
untap both
You
and
get
play
7
another
mana
3
next
drop.
turn.
It's
Like land elf into Ancient Tomb. Yeah. I don't know why I thought that gave you 5 mana.
no.
But 4 mana, still good.
A way to evaluate if you want to be playing Ancient Tomb in your deck or not is how much colorless mana does your deck need. Obviously, if you're playing just straight White Weenie and you have no colorless mana, it's probably not going to be great. But if you're looking to accelerate into 3 drops and 4 drops that have a single pip and are very generic heavy, then Ancient Tomb's going to make you happy, which is why equipment is great, artifacts are great. Or planeswalkers that have a multiple generic and a low pip cost.
Gary.
It's another way to evaluate. It's almost an extension of the same way. What is better for my deck, a Moxen or a Sol Ring? If you're looking at budget inclusions, because a lot of people are like, I don't have Moxen, should I just play a Sol Ring? Well,
maybe.
Look at your curve. I mean, if I was Goblins, I wouldn't play Ancient Tomb and I wouldn't play Sol Ring.
It'd be so bad. It's
I
like,
might play Soul Ring. I wouldn't play Ancient Tomb, but I might.
oh, I have all these red spells.
All these red spells, and that's sort of the way, if you're thinking about putting this in your deck, of how to do the mental math.
No, it's actually super easy. You just go turn to Blood Moon every game. And then
Easy peasy. All right, Ben, tell me a little something about Cavern of Souls.
So Cavern of Souls is it's been kind of a mainstay in the Death and Taxes decks. Tribal decks. Goblins doesn't usually run it. I think it has, but
they do.
Well, I recall a period of time where it's just like they just want more mountains for cards like Mog Alarm, Fire Blast, that kind of stuff. But it's perfectly fine card in tribal decks. That's kind of what it's made
I was
for.
gonna say, I feel like the 2 and very rare 3-color Goblins decks would play this.
Yeah, it might help fix mana in that sense. But a couple of episodes ago, I think I mentioned playing like an Eggs variant that had cards like Monastery Mentor or Sai. The thing about those cards is they are both humans, including Trinket Mage, Auriok Salvagers, Imperial Recruiter, Recruiter of the Guard.
No.
You get my point.
Are you playing Cavern of Souls and Eggs?
Oh, yeah. And I regret not doing it sooner. It is such gas. Just like being able to EOT crop. This is actually quite funny. I EOT crop rotation against someone. They're like, Academy it is. And I'm like, well.
No,
not exactly.
Oh, wow.
Like, you get Cavern of Souls named Human Salvagers, and then you just go to town.
Here's the new secret tech, Cavern of Souls and Enchantress.
Yeah. You got Mesa. You got.
Well, I think they're all human, aren't they?
Except for that new Satyr one. But who cares?
And Eidolon of Blossom.
Are they all
Yeah.
We'll have to do some work on this.
Either way, even if you have some conflicting things, like being able to, if whatever you're playing the Cavern for is going to cause you to win the game or put you in a huge advantageous position, be it Walking Ballista or like Eidolon of Blossoms, then you can also do that. That's fine. If it's just a one turn, I'm going to make sure I get this in play no matter what, that's worth it.
It's just like Cavern Souls. Name construct. Make a fuchsia.
Yep.
Yeah, I've looked at aggro decks before to see like, all right. Actually, question to the room: how many cards of a same type would you want to have before you put Cavern of Souls in like a mid-range deck or something like that?
I don't think that's the right question. I think the question Ben was alluding to earlier is how important that they resolve is the main question.
How instrumental to your game plan, or like what's the quality of this card?
Perfect.
Yeah, like what if there's like any significant cost to putting it in your deck, and the creature type you're going to be naming the most often isn't going to win you the game on the spot, like blanking like a counter spell for
isn't worth
this
it.
turn isn't worth it. Like they're just going to counter your Planeswalker instead, and probably doesn't matter.
All right.
But
see playing Dragonstorm.
No, because you want to resolve Dragonstorm.
All right.
Dragonstorm is not a dragon tribal sorcery, unfortunately.
So
Huge flavor fail, but
So let's move on to our last tier, not the last cards of our set, but the last sort of set we talked about, which Ben has named Forgotten Flex, and I'm going to need an explanation for that afterwards. But the cards here are Golgari Charm, which for a Golgari, which is a black and a green, you get an instant that lets you choose one of the following. All creatures get -1/-1 until end of turn, or destroy target enchantment, or regenerate each creature you control. Next up, we have War Leader's Helix, Ben's introductory card to North 100. A 4-mana instant for 2 and a Boros. Deal 4 damage to any target and gain 4 life. And then finally, we have Engineered Explosives, which is an artifact for X. It has Sunburst, and for 2, and sacrifice the explosives, destroy each non-land permanent with CMC equal to the number of counters on it. Ben, first off, tell me about Forgotten Flex.
So the name was meant to kind of evoke a sense of these flexible answer cards that don't really get as much appreciation as they used to. I feel like a lot of them went through new toy syndrome when they came out. And then people are like, all right, I'm done with that. Let's move on to the next one. Even though they all offer some form of utility that is definitely worth considering them for your decks. Like Golgari, engineered explosives used to be everywhere.
Yeah.
Now,
well, if you played Trinket Mage, you played EE.
right, and it was alluded that it's the format is sped up, so this card's probably too slow now. But I think it's a card that people don't consider enough when they're playing like blue-white control or anything with a Trinket Mage kind of control-based package, or
Especially if you have access to Academy runes as well.
Yeah.
That can be a
Ooh.
super powerful lock.
Yeah, you can absolutely just lock certain archetypes out of the game with this card.
Boggles hates this card.
Oh boy.
9 out of 10 Bogles agree. A Golgari charm has so much text on it. Like you're either killing all these tokens or elves, you are blowing up enchantments, which you rarely want to include cards that just blow up enchantments, but because it has 2 other relevant abilities tacked onto it, you're going to jam this card. And then regenerating your creature, which is the most unassuming one, but boy oh boy, when they try to like Day of Judgment your board of Titania or whatever it may be, and you're like, oh, hey, sorry.
Just go to sleep.
Yeah, like it's such a blowout.
You also ever wanted to screw up combat math and make them feel really bad? You know? You just crack in and they do a whole bunch of mental math and you're just like, okay, I can maybe come out slightly ahead or even. You're just like, nah.
Yeah. Nobody thinks about the just -1/-1 or regenerate. Like this, it does not go through players' heads. But
No, Highlander players don't play around
Combat tricks, not at all.
War Leaders Helix, one that I won't shut up about, but it's another one that a lot of people see it and they're like, oh, more expensive Lightning Helix. But once these numbers are so pumped up that being able to effectively remove any creature, change the race entirely, kill basically any planeswalker. Another thing that mucks up combat math as well.
Yep.
Muddies it up.
Most important question, promo art or original?
Always original. I actually picked up a foil Russian original one recently, and oh, I love it.
Wasn't that mine?
I
We
got.
swapped.
Was it yours? I think
Yeah.
I got this at the RPTQ.
You gave me a foil regular one, and I gave you my foil Russian one.
I have 2 foil Russian War Leaders Helixes now.
So I gotta ask, do you say Davai when you cast it? You probably should.
No.
Classic blind.
Either way, these cards are great, and they definitely deserve a little more respect on both sides of the table.
Yeah. So if you were to open these and you're going to try and build them, let's try and find a home for them. Where are you putting Golgari Charm?
4-color blood. The mid-range deck. Golgari, like a rock-style
Are
deck.
you putting it in the rock?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Does enough in that deck? Okay.
And I don't have enough experience with like
All of these decks,
green aggro,
these
black
cards are sort of flexible, as Ben mentioned. So to some extent, it depends on your meta and what cards you have access to already.
Yeah, I would
But
maybe consider playing this in Black Mold in a specific meta.
it's like if people are
Situation.
always trying to kill all your dudes, then
Yeah, or if like weenie and or goblins are like really around a lot.
This card is absurd versus Blue Moon, by the way.
Yeah, we blow up the...
Getting rid of their moon, it stops all of their sweepers because all their removal is damage based. And then some of the most broken Blue Moon draws involve an
Young
unchecked Young
Pyromancer.
Pyromancer or just like Vendilion Clique swinging over
Yep.
top
or
repeatedly.
Clique plus Obstructionist.
Yeah.
Obstructionist.
Cool.
Yeah.
War Leaders Helix you've talked about a lot. Where is EE going?
Again, blue, if you have a Trinket Mage in your deck, if you're like a blue kind of grindy control strategy, I would probably play this. Maybe even like a land strategy. I know for a while, older kind of land-based kind of grind them out decks that had like intuition packages with this loam and explosives like Life from the Loam, Academy Ruins, and this. And you can just lock the game out. It's such a low cost to add to your deck as well.
Here's a question about Sunburst. Because Sunburst says for every color you play, obviously you can play it for 0.
Yeah.
You put a counter on it. How many colors do you think you have to play to get value out of EE?
2.
2.
2 minimum?
Yeah, 2
Because
minimum.
then you can go 0, 1, or 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's totally fine.
0's quite useful,
Yep.
as it turns out.
Yeah, killed
Also,
it.
notably, this card always beats Chalice of the Void, and Thalia doesn't affect it.
Yeah. That's some heads-up hockey right there.
because you can choose whatever value of X you want and just put more of one color into it.
Yeah, Sunburst
or less.
Sunburst checks the colors used to cast this card.
So if you want to cast it, X is 2 and there's a Thalian Plague, declare X is 1 and then pay white black and it enters with 2 counters.
That's some KCI tech for y'all at home.
Yeah.
That's what you meant by beat. I was like, we're gonna need a.
Yeah, like Thalia doesn't affect it, and it beats Chalice of the Void. Like
My brain
if you
hurts.
want to cast it, if there's a chalice on 2, and you want to cast it with 2 colors, just pay X is 3 and pay double
But
white.
pay 2
and a
colors.
blue.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, let's move on to the last card we're going to talk about today in our set review. That is the Platinum Empyrean.
This art is pretty sweet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah, he looks really cool.
8 mana, 8/8 golem that just says your life total
I like
can't
that they-
change.
I like that they centered the text. It's just like,
No.
Alex, you love this card. Is that
no,
correct?
no, no. Serge loves this
Oh,
card.
Serge, you love this card.
Not
Is
as
that
much as
correct?
as I dislike the other artifact who will not go named in this place, but
What
yeah,
other artifact?
Yeah, I'm
I,
lost.
I actually don't know.
I'm
what
not
it is.
trolling
the
you.
one that you madcap
for-
experiment into.
This one? This is the one. You madcap into this one? Serge, can you hear me? Serge,
Serge?
do you madcap into this
Yes,
one? Hello?
I got confused for a
Oh, I
second.
went into
I was
the
like,
again.
I hate this card so
I'm
much.
confused. What card do you
I
hate
sent
more?
I sent my own brain into the shadow realm here.
Serge
I-
thought we were talking about Bosch the
I-
Iron Golem.
Oh no! I had a little
He
stress coma for a
tilted
second.
so hard, he had temporary amnesia.
I actually did. I did. I was like, okay, thank God it's not the card I hate. And I looked at it, it's like,
Oh, wait, it is.
please no!
Tilted right into George
So-
W. Bosch.
All right, somebody save me from myself. Why do people play this card?
Because aggro can't beat it, mostly.
Well, I mean,
Well,
while
not
it's in
anymore,
play,
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's very challenging for aggro to beat.
this is another kind of Liliana the Veil edition where, like, this card is still good, and in particular metagames, absolutely slam it in your Blue Moon decks, the like Grixis Madcap decks, whatever it may be. Even you can maybe do a Jeskai one, but it's hard to get off like Torrential Gearhulk and whatnot. But this card is definitely, it shouldn't be the first thing that you slot into your Blood Moon deck.
You're like, I'm playing Blue Moon. Card number 1, Blood Moon. Card number 2, Back to Basics. Card number 3, Platinum Empyrean. That's not the way to build that deck.
Number 3, Island.
97 islands.
Holy moly.
But like the answers that exist to this card, when Madcap initially came out and there was this like scare of Platinum Empyrean being this unbeatable force, they just slam it on 4, whatever it is. The tools were there, but not as good as they are right now. Between getting cards like Knight of Autumn, Assassin's Trophy, just like random stuff that you'll find throughout the past year or two, like blue spells, just being able to bounce it.
People like dusting off their copy of 10th Street Hooligan.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
say even just the increase of people playing more cards like Manglehorn, Thrashing Brontodon.
With
Yeah.
Storm becoming having more of a presence again after some of the changes made to the points list, I can definitely say that I've been on the receiving end of many a Manglehorn, which feels real bad and deals with this. So like the green decks can play up to 3 Viridian Shaman, Reclamation Sage type effects on creatures and not feel like they're getting flooded out on them.
Yep. Well, they're all
Well, and they're all
good.
just good.
They're good.
Actively playable
Yeah.
cards.
Yeah, they all have like splash damage against non-dedicated artifact decks.
Yep.
It's also a maze, so you don't have to destroy your own sword with ETBs.
Meow, meow, meow.
There's also at least in the past year, we've seen kind of a second wave of these non-blue mid-range decks popping up. 4-color blood decks, Abzan, whatever it may be, and they don't care about this guy. He's a big dummy. They just swords them. They just get him out of the way.
Well, yeah.
Like, ha ha.
We could go for 30 seconds and not stop counting cards.
It's a
Those
nice
decks
big
have
robot for me
deal
to
with this.
pulse on.
The following cards destroy Platinum Imperium.
For 3 or less mana.
Yeah.
Crumble.
Yeah. All right.
Oxidize.
We don't do that. All right. So you open a Platinum Empyrean. We've given you some options. Typically, it's with Red Cap Experiment,
Notably, it's also
Madcap Experiment.
a really strong reanimator target.
Yep. And anywhere else for those? I mean, it's 8 mana.
I've seen big red decks just play it.
Yeah.
Because you just get to cast it.
Just ramp out.
Yep.
Sweet.
What about
The bigger workshop.
It works pretty well with your Ancient Tomb.
It's really nice to pod a Mirror Enforcer into this.
Ooh. All right.
All right.
On that note. Well, that's going to be our set review, friends, or pardon me, our reprint review, where we looked at some particularly choice cards. And again, we know we did not talk exhaustively about a lot of the cards there, but these were the ones that sort of caught our eye and that we wanted to sort of highlight. Of you're drafting, you get some rares, and you're like, well, now what? Well, here's some Highlander decks that you can put these cards will call home. So let's now move to our closing segment. Powerful magic. Yeah, my boy. And up today, I've got a Jer. Jer, tell me, regale us with a tale of magic.
Well, I had a story lined up, and then Ben reminded me
Of a better one?
of a better one.
Ooh.
So I'm going to go with that one.
What did I do?
So it was before the second time we were all going to go down to
Snohomish or whatever?
Yeah, Geek Fortress in Snohomish to play Highlander across the border, defend our honor. And I decided to play Hoof deck, but I was waffling on whether I should play green-white or green-red. Both are similar, but they give you slightly different options. And Ben had been crushing with 2 different Academy lists. He'd been crushing with both Eggs and Paradox Academy. This was sort of right when he tuned Paradox Academy to the similar list that it's at now, and he was running rampant with it. And I was trying to figure out a flex thought to beat Ben, because I know if I go down there, there's a chance we're going to end up meeting at some point. And so I was testing a few cards. I decided that Reclamation Sage and Thrashing Brontodon weren't enough. They were in my deck, but I wanted a real haymaker. And so it was the tournament before we went down, and what do you know? I end up facing Ben in the finals.
In the finals?
Yeah, it was the finals. Ben and I, we were both planning to go down to Snohomish, so there's a reasonable chance we were both playing these decks, planning to take these decks with us to the tournament. I was playing the green-white shell, which gives you access to more creature tutors, and I thought just giving myself more decisions to make would allow me to leverage my knowledge and sort of get an advantage over my opponents.
This ain't gonna be pretty.
And so in game 1, I open my hand, and one of my hate cards is in there, Manglehorn, with 2 lands and an elf. So game 1, I get to play Manglehorn on turn 2, and it basically just wins the game by itself. I blow up something.
And Ben is just too slow at that point.
Yeah. And then the next game, I actually think Ben just like crushes me, like kills me on turn 4 or something, and I can't get my boy into play. And then the third game, Ben's about to go off, and then I chord for Manglehorn, blow up his engine. All of his other things are going to start coming into play tapped, and that was it. So the other card I was deciding on was Bane of Progress.
Oh, Bane of Progress.
And I actually had it in my deck that night, but took it out because my testing had proved, limited testing had proved that Manglehorn was enough.
Interesting. Manglehorn over Bane of Progress to hate out the artifact deck.
I actually think it's better and more backbreaking than Bane of Progress.
Yeah.
Having tested it further. Like, the deck is actually, those artifact decks are super resilient and super good at rebuilding, especially Eggs. Eggs is slightly better at it than Academy.
Sometimes you can goad your opponent into casting stuff like Bane of Progress or Fiery Confluence because you just really want to get a nice second sunrise off.
Yeah, whereas Manglehorn just really cripples the deck's ability to operate forever.
Yeah.
Which is really where you want to get him.
The irony there is that Ben has actually crushed me in the finals of tournaments with Bane of Progress, and it's been backbreaking. I wanted to rage buy every copy of Bane Progress in the store and send it into the sea. It was so crippling.
Yeah, like when I first made Hoof and was like tuning it, like I think the commander set with this came out just after or like in the summer of that year that I built Hoof.
Actually, if I may really quickly, so Bane of Progress, if you don't know, is a 6-mana 2/2 elemental for 4 green. When it enters the battlefield, destroy all artifacts and enchantments, and put a +1/+1 counter on Bane of Progress for each permanent destroyed this way.
Ouch.
So I guess I should talk about Manglehorn as well, because I never said what that one
Sure,
was.
yeah.
So it's 2 and a green for a 2/2. It enters the battlefield, you may destroy target artifact, but the really key text in this scenario is that artifacts your opponents control enter the battlefield tapped. Ooh. So the eggs that enter can't get sacrificed right away.
Artifact lands, everything.
Artifact lands. The Paradox Engine deck really wants to ramp out its mana and cast multiple spells a turn, so they're often tapping the rocks the turn they play them to cast more rocks, and it just really stunts their growth.
I was going to say Grim Monolith hates it.
Yeah, I do have a fun little Bane of Progress aside.
Sure.
I was playing Hoof against Blue-White Control, also in the finals, and my control opponent has a Moat in play, and I've already used my Reclamation Sage, but I haven't used Bane of Progress, and I'm planning on casting my Bane of Progress the next turn. So all I have is Bane in hand. But my opponent obviously has a counterspell, and I feel as though I'm just going to lose to this anyways. I untap and I draw a Green Sun Zenith. Now, I have approximately 1 million mana, but a hard counter don't care about that. And so I'm looking at this Green Sun Zenith and Bane of Progress. I'm like, oh, let's see if this works. And I'm like, Green Sun Zenith for 6. And then my opponent's like, tank. They're like, well, don't want you to get Bane of Progress. And they counter it. And I'm like, okay, cool. Then I slam Bane of Progress.
Oh
like,
my
did you see their
God.
soul leave their body?
It was more of like a, wow, yep, okay, I'm done.
You just sent them right to the Shadow Realm.
Yeah, I feel betrayed by this card, to be
Holy
honest.
moly. All right, well, friends, that is going to about do it for today's episode. So thank you very much for tuning in. I want to, there's going to be a lot of deck list questions for this. So I just like to recommend people check out an account that Ben manages, which is the Canadian Highlander database on Tapped Out. You'll be able to find examples of all the archetypes we talked about, from Pattern Rector to Sandy B to everything. It's a really cool resource, so you should check that out. We'll make sure we get a link to that down in the description. And I want to say a reminder that North 100 is brought to you by you with your support over at the Patreon, over at patreon.com/LoadingReadyRun. Thank you very much. We appreciate you for watching, and we'll see you next time. See you later.